My name is Dan Haig. I'm with Esri. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar, Implementing a Modern GIS for Local Government. As I mentioned, my name's Dan Haig. I'm the Regional Manager for State and Local Government with Esri in St. Louis. Joining me today on the webinar, it's going to be Matt Hone from also from the Esri team in St. Louis. And then we have some friends from Pro West. So Jennifer Ward, Alex Lang, and Kyle Wickstrom. So great that you could make it this afternoon, and we've got a lot of content we want to get through. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to talk a little bit just about kind of how we got to where we are now in looking at the kind of the evolution of GIS. And I can imagine that all of us on this call believe in the inherent importance of maps, and maps are really the fundamental building blocks of GIS. So this is a screenshot or some images of documentation from the ArcInfo system all the way back in 1982, and you can see how this inherent power of the map is called out in this documentation. And maps will always be a critical component of GIS, but they are not all that a GIS is or does. So if we think about this journey to a modern GIS, in many organizations, GIS started with probably a single user, maybe using desktop ArcInfo. Now, some of you may go back, I'm not necessarily happy to admit, but maybe you even go back to GIS on the mainframe. With the release of ArcIMS followed by ArcGIS Server, we saw the advent of GIS web services and the development even of web applications for the public and for internal use. And with ArcGIS Enterprise Portal, we now have a full-fledged web GIS that can support the entire organization. For lots of people I've run into, this whole notion of a web GIS seems brand new and maybe somewhat revolutionary, but it's actually not. And like a lot of things, it's evolving. And we've been thinking and talking about it for years, as you can see from these slides that go all the way back from 2005 and run through 2011. So it's really an evolution. It's not a revolution, and it's still continuing. Right? A good example of this evolution is in parcel data management. So every iteration of this capability improves on the previous one to take advantage of those new capabilities and to meet new business needs. And now we're supporting parcel data management through the ArcGIS Enterprise and WebGIS. And if you think about it, GIS and parcel data can now be everywhere, supporting everyone in an organization. And the solutions that we're developing are designed for each type of work in an office. There will always be a role for GIS professionals using heavy iron, but for the rest of the organization, there are apps for appraisers. There are apps for scheduling, managing, and optimizing the field workforce. There are apps for parcel mappers. There are apps for modelers. And there are tools for engaging the public and helping public officials. So it's not just GIS being used in the assessor's office or the appraiser's office, but WebGIS can benefit everyone in your organization. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jen at Pro West, and she's going to highlight some customer successes leveraging WebGIS with ArcGIS Enterprise.
Thanks, Dan. All right, let's see here if I can get this to work properly. Okay, so it's not ideal. Every time I hit the present button to fill the screen, it's disappearing. So we're gonna fly by the seat of our pants with this one. So kind of following up on what Dan discussed a little bit about the evolution of GIS and web distribution and things of that nature. The other thing that we have been seeing happen across all organizations, no matter the size, whether you're a very small municipality or county to a very large municipality or county, is how that data is being accessed and stored and distributed. And for those of you that are old school, such as myself and some of the other members on our panel here today, We don't even have a spot on here that lists Apple 7 and ARC info coverages and shape files and things of that nature, AutoCAD drawings back in the day. What we've seen this evolve over the last 10 to 15 years is those very isolated types of data storage that are housed on an individual's computer, or if you were really lucky back in the day, you had a joint server file share type of system that multiple people could access that data. And what we've seen that move from is from that type of single storage to the personal and file geodatabases. And the personal and file geodatabases were a great advantage, right, in technology as far as how data could be stored. And it allowed organizations to not have necessarily isolated individual feature classes or shape files on individuals' computers, but you're able to combine those together to a very well organized format with those personal or file geodatabases. From that point, what we've seen progress is into work group geodatabases, and then the enterprise environment, like we're going to be speaking about a little bit more here today. And the big thing that we have seen and are seeing organizations move towards is that environment of an enterprise setup. And the reason for that is mostly because of the multi-user editing and accessibility. And one thing that we've really seen occur over the last decade is that, kind of following on what Dan said, that it's not just the assessor's department or not just isolated to the highway department per se. We're seeing a need for data access and distribution across all departments within our local governments. And by having that multi-user environment with that enterprise database structure, that is allowing not only for multiple editors, but multiple viewers as well. And so as you're looking at your organization and taking a look at the number of editors and number of users that you have, a good thing to bring into the conversation is that ability to have that enterprise structure and what that can do for your organization. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn this on over to Alex, who's going to show some more exciting demos than what I am able to provide. And so Alex, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Jen. I'm gonna take just a second here to get my screen. All right, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about solutions for capital improvement planning, and we're going to keep this a little bit, we'll keep this broad strokes today as far as looking at what we can do to better manage capital improvement projects, but also what the challenges are and how we can be flexible with with Esri ArcGIS Online solutions, as well as even enterprise solutions if you have that system as well. Let's see, is it gonna go for me? There we go. All right. So what's the challenge? Well, with capital improvement projects across your organization, they can touch multiple departments, they can touch multiple staff. You can have multiple projects per each one of those staff or department members, and you can have multiple phases that projects need to be tracked while they're going through these departments, staff, and department and staff. So you can guess what the challenge is that there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen, and we need to be able to not only better manage them across the board, we want to bring them together so that they can be better managed by the people who need to see not only the results, but the people that want to track them across all the statuses and updates that are happening, especially if it's something that's already active and out there in for construction. Pardon me there, a little something in my eye. So the solution using Esri's ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise is to be able to bring everything together for a centralized location, a centralized data set, and a centralized standard for project tracking. And bringing those things together, especially with the various solutions that we'll take a look at today, is really the key piece to how these solutions integrate with each other. Because if we have one data set to track rather than several, we don't need to deal with figuring out whether or not the right hand is talking to the left, or even if we have a right or a left hand. And this also works across it's flexible to work across multiple different types of organizations, because if we only have one person that's tracking all these types of projects, then we can pare down these solutions and really focus in on making sure the data is good and how we're putting that out there, if we want to put that out there to the public as well. So capital improvement management. Again, I was just talking about that centralized data set, and departments get to manage their own data without interfering with other departments' information. And we compile all these views into two separate bins, if you will. The projects sit in two separate bins: proposed and active. And for the definition, and I will define those as far as the capital improvement management. Proposed projects, meaning projects that aren't ready to go active, meaning that they are conceptual in nature, they haven't gotten funding, or for whatever reason they're just not given the go ahead to actually perform that capital improvement project. So they're kind of sitting in the weeds, waiting for certain things to happen as far as maybe legally or being authorized, versus active projects that have gone through all of that and are now actually being performed. The action is happening on those projects, and we need to track both proposed and active projects throughout multiple phases. So if we set a foundation with a centralized data set, we can move through the various solutions that I'm going to demo to you today and be able to take a look at all these projects at their where they are currently, so that not only managers but data editors and maybe even field workers are aware of all the changes across the board and get a chance to view those projects in and around their various phases. So what's the punchline, as it were? We've been talking about capital improvement and how we want to bring everything together. Well, what's going to be the meat and potatoes of these solutions? And I'm listing them out right here, but we will take a look at each of these here coming up. But I just wanted to kind of go through the structure and how a project may actually come through the various steps and create this really nice workflow for capital improvement management. So we start off with simple web app builder editor tools to be able to manage projects that are maybe on a department. They're just like I said, concepts, and they haven't yet worked their way up through the system. And then we have two solutions. You see there, capital project review and review dashboard. Those are those proposed projects, the ones that they're nearing completion. They're ready to, or nearing completion as in they're ready to go active and actually be done out in the real world. And then we have a similar manager and dashboard setup for those active projects, so that each phase of the projects, proposed or active, has its own solution set, and we bring all of these together into a cohesive and centralized hub site or enterprise site if you're using ArcGIS Enterprise, to be able to have one location to see all of these solutions and actually work through as we go from idea to concept to propose to active, all the way through all those various steps that we have to go through. And like I said, this is very flexible set of solutions. So we can not only take this type of workflow and tailor it to, or it can be tailored to your organization, but it can also be configured so that it fits the statuses and what you guys would like to see for your organization as projects maybe move through only one phase, or possibly it needs to go through 5. It all depends on how we can set these up and configure these solutions can be configured for your organization. All right, so that's enough talk. Let's get into the actual demo of things. This is really fun. I really like demoing these set of solutions. So just give me a second to go ahead and switch my screen share. Could somebody give me the thumbs up or thumbs down that switched to my other screen?
I see capital project management.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So here is a little demo site that I've put together for this presentation. This is something that is using prefabricated or dummy data. So this is not something that is actually out there live. It's purely for the for demonstration purposes today, but it gives you a look at how we can set up a hub site to better bring these solutions together. So you can see we have this capital project management hub site. Now ArcGIS Hub is how we can bring these solutions. Normally that hub is used to publish solutions or data or narrative out to the public. In this case, we're using an internal hub site so that members of your organization, either in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, can log in and see this hub site and take a look at the data and solutions that we've pulled together. So as I scroll down a little bit, we can see that we're already taking advantage of the fact that we have this centralized data set. We are putting out statistics such as public investment dollars, estimated spending, projects ending this year. All of this data can be brought into this banner or this hub site so that right away people going to this site can take a look at the overall system and those key indicators that your organization would like to see right out front before we even get a look at any of the solutions that I talked about earlier. Scrolling down, we can see that there's a little some little icons as far as indicating for this demo. This demo's organization has roads, transit, parks, and utility data that they're currently parsing out their capital improvement projects into. Your organization can divvy these up however you want, and that's really the nice part about these solutions. If utilities covers multiple departments in your organization, but for the purposes of capital improvements, we split them out. They can be done. We can do that, and you'll see that later on. We have a little link here that you could link out if you have an actual PDF document or a capital improvement plan for your organization. We can link out to that with this hub site as well. This is not only just a solution based hub site, but we can also link in content. And I'm going to go ahead and actually click on this active capital projects dashboard. So these are the projects that are actually currently out there being constructed or being performed out in the real world. So say we're taking on the role of a supervisor who wants to see what's currently out there at this moment. This dashboard tells us just that. As it loads here very slowly, it will show us the projects that are currently out there, and we're actually getting a look at a dynamic pop-up that's actually giving us some indicators about each project. What phase is it at? What kind of dollar amount has been spent or was budgeted? Even noting whether or not it's over budget or on schedule using some smart HTML coding in the pop-up. And all this is configurable right out of the box as you download this solution from ArcGIS Solutions within ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. And we see that we even have some filtering options. So if we only want to see one type, one phase, or 1 year of a given project set, we can filter out the various data sets that we want to be able to see as our role as the supervisor. But say we also have edit privileges, and we know that a project, say for example, this rebuild sewer lines project that I just clicked on here, and information should be popping up. Let's say we know that project, oh, that's wrong. That's not in closeout. That's still being constructed for whatever reason. If we go back to our capital project management hub site and deploy the manager solution, we're going to look at a view of all those active projects, and we can take and this is the editable solution where we can find the project we're interested in and edit its data so that it reflects correctly as to where this project currently is. So I'm going to go to sewer projects. I believe that's the one that we had looked at. We said, oh, that's not in closeout. I'm going to go ahead and click on that one. We see this little box pop up with that same pop up we're seeing in the dashboard. But in this case, by clicking on the edit button, I can now edit those features. So I know that this is in construction. I can set that to construction, hit save, and that updates throughout the entire system. So wherever this project is sitting, we've now updated the data. And one of the other little neat features of this manager and the configurable setup is that people who have access to this manager can actually leave comments on specific projects. Using a related table, we're able to save those kind of records. So if there is something somebody wants to convey about this project that we want to note, we can actually leave that comment actually attached to the various projects. That's a neat little feature of this these particular solutions. Now going into proposed projects, we see a very similar look of dashboard and manager solutions because we want to keep the same tool set so that people who log in are very familiar with this type of solution, so that they can uh, expect that they're going to see the same type of tools across the board as they manage their particular projects, or as a person goes through the various phases. You can see the dashboard is slightly different because this is proposed projects. These aren't actively being constructed, so we have a little bit of different information we want to know about them. Where's the funding coming from? What's the year? What's the type? All that type of data is more relevant for proposed projects because they haven't received the proper authorization yet, or whatever you would want to set that to. But the difference here is that we also can, by clicking on that Review Now button, we can actually deploy that manager solution that's also linked out in the hub site, and it will actually pull in the editable data for that particular project for proposed solutions. So you can see that popped up, zoomed right to the project we clicked in the dashboard, and we can now edit the data on this phase rather than active on the proposed phase for this particular one. And finally, the other really nice part, I talked about dividing up our data before. So if we have multiple departments that need to be pulling in the data to this centralized data set, we can set up individual editors for a various department or staff members so that they can produce or track their own projects. And then when they're ready, when those projects become more tangible, they can set a certain setting. In this case, by selecting a given project, I can set it to authorized or status of, yes, this has now been proposed and we'd like this to move up the chain. We can set that within the editor, but we're still managing our own data. And to answer a question I'm sure some of you have, we're only editing projects and viewing other projects that are related to ours. We can't edit other departments' data, but we get to take a look at it if we need to and manage our own. So obviously, if an organization doesn't split up their data, we don't need these type of solutions. But because these capital improvement project solutions are so flexible, we're able to meet the needs of both types of organization. And to round off this hub site, I will say that we can include open data. So individual sets of this centralized data can be downloaded for various purposes. And we can include links to who to talk to about specific project data. So if we have a point person for transportation data, we can link out their email with a button on this hub site as well. So I hope that gives you a brief overview. I know we kept this pretty high level for this particular demo, but really wanted to showcase how flexible and how we can manage these various solutions for capital improvement projects. And one more time, I will just say that this can be done within ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. And if we have any questions and we have some time at the end, we can answer those at that point. But at this time, I'm going to pass it off to Kyle. He's got some great solutions to show you. So take it away, Kyle.
All right. So similar to how Alex went through solutions for capital improvement projects, I'm going to go through a handful or a variety of different types of solutions. In this particular section, we're going to talk about solutions for planning and zoning. We're actually going to take a look at something that we have helped Polk County, Minnesota set up, and how they are not only using some of the out-of-the-box ArcGIS solutions, but they've also built out those solutions to fill in some of the gaps, some of the things that separated them from the boilerplate solutions. So we're going to take a look at some of those as well. So kicking off for planning and zoning. So ArcGIS has a suite of solutions which are a collection of maps, apps, different types of templates, and content that can help organizations get going quickly. The land use outreach solution can be used to share development regulations, construction activity, and also help solicit information from the public when there is a particular land use case or a zoning change that your community may be proposing. It gives users that 24/7 access to organizational data and streamlines that development process. The approach increases public trust, can do things like help government agencies harness feedback from their public, particularly in this past year where we're not able to attend events in person. This solution can help reduce the need to attend in-person meetings as well. So it delivers a set of capabilities that help you share that land use data, zoning and other regulations, generate awareness about permitted construction activity, and engage the public when there are proposed developments. So the specific solutions that come with the land use outreach solution include land use inquiry, which is web app builder configuration that is used to identify land use and zoning designations. Floodplain inquiry, which is used to locate parcels that are impacted by FEMA floodplains and things like that. The construction activity tracker, which can help be used to track individual building permits and general construction activity or land use cases in the case of Polk County, which we're going to take a look at in a moment. And public comment is an application that can be used to review land use cases or capital improvement projects and give those public users the ability to submit feedback on a given case or a given project. Now, what we did for Polk County, Minnesota, and this is a live site. If you were to do an online search for Polk County, Minnesota, go to the county website, search for county maps, and look up, open up their land use outreach page, you'd actually see that they have a ArcGIS hub site that's being used to share this land use information publicly. So that's the public face of their working land use, zoning, and permitting data. So now this site, we had to help them deploy that land use outreach solution. We configured those solutions to meet the county's needs, and then we built out some of that content to make sure that it was going to meet the county's needs in those specific ways that separated them from the mainstream solution. And then we wrap that all in an ArcGIS hub. So let's quick jump over to this site, and perhaps while I'm doing this, I'm not sure if Jenny or if somebody's putting links into the chat, but they could put this in there if they chose to. All right, so you can see Polk County has various applications and various resources that they're sharing on their geospatial hub. The one that we're talking about right now is their land use outreach. So again, this hub that we're looking at right now is something that we had helped them to build out. We put this together after we had helped them assemble and deploy those land use outreach solutions, the actual maps, the actual applications. And very similar to what Alex had shown us all, you can see that here at the top of the page, you really start to tell the story of land use and zoning and permitting within this local government. You can get a sense of how much activity is actually happening throughout the county right now that we should be concerned about. Again, remember, we're looking at this hub site from the public side, where we maybe don't understand all the nuances or exactly what goes into this. So that's where we get to use this hub page to tell that story. We can see right here that there's actually 5 conditional use permits that are currently active at the county. And after a little bit, I'll show you how a user from the general public in that county could actually submit feedback on that particular permit. As we go through the page, so each one of these sections is describing one of the mapping applications that comes with the ArcGIS solution for land use outreach. We've simply provided some context about those solutions and included some additional applications to help the end users understand all of the land resource department's data. So here we can actually jump right into this public comment map. I usually do this one last, but since we were talking about public comment, let's talk about this one first. So one of the basic configurations of Web App Builder for ArcGIS is you can include a splash screen, and the county had asked for some simple instructions. So we've included some instructions for the users on how to use the application. And here you notice the map is designed in a way that it's communicating the land use, sorry, not the land use, the zoning data, the land use and the zoning data. And it's showing us where the locations of the land use case permits are actually located. These are things like their variance and their conditional use permits that are going through currently going through public review, and the county is required to share that information with the public and accept feedback on those permits from the general public. So you can see here that we got five particular land use cases that we can look up. If there's a particular one we're interested in, or an area in the map that we're interested in, we can select it from the map or from the list. Let's look at this first conditional use permit, and we can see that its conditional use permit gives us the details that the county is sharing. Applicants want to expand their business operation, who's the applicant, what's the parcel ID if it's related to a specific parcel, and then most importantly, when's the hearing date if I want to actually attend that meeting where they're actually going to vote upon this particular application or this permit. You can see here there's an attachment that someone from the county has attached a document to help support supporting content or supporting resources with this application. So let's click on this piece of this resource, and we can see that it has come with they've provided a diagram, a map of exactly what it is they're going to be constructing. So you can give your staff the ability to include these types of supporting documents. But let's say, okay, I'm a member of the general public and I want to, submit my feedback on this, whether it's, positive or negative. Feedback can be positive. We're simply going to click on this submit feedback button. And what that's going to do, that's actually going to launch a Survey 123 application. And the Survey 123 application is enabling those users from the general public to actually review the case information and its location, should they desire. But more importantly, it allows them to rate this particular application on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, why do we do 1 to 10? Well, typically, anything between 0 and 6 is generally negative. 6 to 7, maybe 8 is kind of just passive, neutral. 9s and 10s are going to be your strong promoters. But let's say, yep, we really like this project, or yep, we'll stick with that. And then just a general overall thumbs up or thumbs down. Well, we can say I'm in favor of this. We can say I think it's a great project, full steam ahead. And if you want to provide your contact information, the county does allow individuals to submit information anonymously, but it also allows them to provide their contact information. Now, this little interesting piece of information about the experience with Pope County, it was anticipated that most people would choose to remain anonymous out of, I was just looking at their permit application the other day, and one of their permits had about a dozen pieces of feedback on it, and only 2 did not provide their information. People generally want to share what their concerns are and their contact information to get more, if you want to get more information from them. So it's not a bad idea to ask if they want to provide that contact information. But what's happening on the back end is as soon as you submit this survey, internal staff have a dashboard that they can view all of the active permit applications on, select them in order to filter the list of feedback that's come in. It's giving them a general sense of the community sentiment towards a particular application, and that's helping them to make that decision about whether or not they approve or deny a particular permit application. But since they're actually using this, I'm not going to submit this one. Let's leave that. Let's go back to the land use outreach page. And they do have just a general map of overall zoning and different types of overlay layers. So if we were open up this mapping application, I'm going to open up this one. It's the same data, just laid out a little differently. So configuring the land use inquiry solution, we took that solution and we built it out to include some additional tools that the county desired, such as the legend or the layer list or the base map gallery, a print widget. There's a little widget that they can draw graphics on the map and create a printout if they want to. But the core of this application gives the end user to search for their property based on their address or a parcel ID, or they can search for their address point. They can also search for a section. So let's say I want to go search for a section out here. Let's search for section 1-12637. Let's locate that particular section in the PLS. And it's simply bringing me to that location on the map, and I can see the various types of zones that have been granted or given to this particular tract of land. And we can see that, hey, this section contains 2 shoreland zones, and this section also contains 3 general zones. Want more details about those zones? Just click on the one that you're interested in. So here we can see a breakdown of those 2 shoreland zones, and we can see that this particular section is actually a part of this natural environment zone. It's a particular, it's so many feet around this body of natural water or wetland. And for more information, you can actually access the ordinance that tells you about that particular type of shoreland. Let's go in here and actually look for a parcel. Zoom out just a moment here. So here we can see that this particular parcel looks like it might be part of a set of townhomes or something like that. We can see that it's a part of a shoreland zone. It's part of this large Lake Reno. We'll go back. We can also see that it's a part of this general agricultural non-intensive zone. So parcels can be a part of different types of zones. Some of them follow more rigid boundaries like parcels or municipal boundaries. Others can follow more natural boundaries such as shoreland or riparian buffer areas where there's vegetative protection. So there's different types of geometries that your zones can occupy. But that's giving users the ability to unlock the county's data, official data about its zoning. All right, so let's go back to the hub, locate the floodplain. So this application is going to work very, very similarly. So it's essentially another map of the county, but it is featuring, it's communicating that floodplain information. So here, as this loads up for me, very easy to understand the visual of what's going on here. We can see that these red areas, that's a floodplain zone. Let's zoom in on our map. Let's say I'm interested in maybe purchasing this parcel. Maybe I've searched for it in the search bar, but I'm just going to select it. Maybe I'm someone I want to understand if that parcel is in the floodplain. Here we can see that, yep, based on the county's data that they're using, it's in the floodplain. Got to contact the county or FEMA for a little more information, and it's giving me some verification that I actually have selected the right property. That's the taxpayer, the section, township range, the plat name and number, things like that. So the land resource department is also using this hub site to distribute these story maps that an individual within the department is creating for each and every one of these advisory boards. They're creating these story maps to serve as their agenda, where they're telling a greater picture about the different types of applications that they're going to be reviewing at their board meetings. And I'm not going to go into this one on detail since this is out there in public. but that hub is serving as a way for this staff to serve out additional content that they are creating above and beyond the out-of-the-box solutions. They're also sharing the raw data with anyone from the general public. For those who want to download that GIS data, they can take that data and create their own information products out of it. They're also providing resources to their some of their other maybe more static zoning maps, their adopted zoning revisions, and then finally you can get a hold of land and resource management if you have further questions. So for sake of time, and because we did start a little late, I am rushing through a little bit of this, so I'm going to jump right here. I'm going to go right to all right, so let's talk a little bit about some solutions for public works and highway departments related to highway or roads and transportation. So one of the big challenges that organizations we visited with is their ability to simply map their various types of assets, whether that be certain types of road center lines where their plow districts are located. Where are the street signs? That's a big one. Where are those the street signs that communicate driver information? Where are the culverts? Where's the street striping and things like that? So asset data management related solutions help organizations to map those assets and actually edit that data and unlock the correct permissions to edit that data to the appropriate users. It also comes with some maps to view those asset maps. So for the users who just need to view a map of their assets. You can also use this related solutions to manage your inspections program. So if you need to go out and visit these assets and perform an inspection upon them, you can use ArcGIS solutions to help you do that as well as collaborate using map notes. So map notes are, imagine marking up a map where you're not necessarily well, you're not editing the authoritative data, but you're putting in a note for the editors of the data, so that way they can maybe improve their information, or maybe there's an inconsistency in that data. You're you're using the ArcGIS system to help document and prioritize the different types of data inconsistencies that your organization may have in its data. Now, I was going to talk about some of these applications a little more specifically, but I'm just going to briefly go through some of the screenshots and then jump into a demo. All right, let's just jump right into the demo here. Oop, that was not where I wanted to go. All right, so as I was describing, so this is another county we've worked with, Polk County with a K. They're in northwest Minnesota. So we're talking about Pope and we're talking about Polk. So with P and a K. So this is Polk County. No, I am just kidding. That is Pope County. Polk County doesn't have a lake. Here, one moment while I get this switched over. No, maybe while I get this switched over, does anybody see any questions in the chat?
I am not seeing any questions right now, Kyle. I did put, there is links in the chat for everybody that wants to take a look at Polk County's geospatial hub and their land use hub page. Both of those are links are dropped in the chat window.
Thank you, Alex. I'm just getting connected up here. All right, almost.
And Kyle, I know you had to glance through really quickly some of those public works capabilities. Is that something, if after the presentation, if folks send you an email, then maybe you could follow up with them and send them some additional information, or get in a call and walk through those in the future?
Yeah, we certainly could. We certainly could. That's something
Excellent.
we're very accustomed to. Yep. All right, I'm about 30 seconds out here. Thanks for your patience. Yeah, today was a day that required a lot of coffee, it seems, but we're making it here. All right, so I'm going to begin sharing my screen here. All right, and you should be seeing a screen that says asset management.
Yep, it's coming through.
Perfect, thanks. All right, so with these various asset management applications, we have also built out those solutions to not only meet the needs of the county, filling in some of the gaps. We've also taken those applications and we've wrapped those all together in an enterprise site. So this set of applications is set up on the county's internal ArcGIS Enterprise portal. So this is for internal use, and we created the site using the enterprise site's capabilities. As we go through the page, you can see that it's tailored for those public works officials. You can see just how many data issues have been reported, how many have been resolved, how many are still open. That's a good indicator for the managers of this GIS data if there's something that they need to go edit. There's some data that was reported incorrect. That works as a way for them to see, hey, there's some tasks I got to do. We can go a little lower. We can see the types of, similar to how Alex showed, you can see the different types of assets that the county is managing. So as it relates to drainage, engineering projects, maintenance projects, and their various parks and natural resources. We could go into their active assets map application. So this is going to be that equivalent of that viewer application for perhaps your general office staff who need to see, access these maps but not have permission to edit this data. So as we go into this map here, you can see how it's been configured with the county's authoritative data. Now the types of data that they are tracking include, I'm just going to pull up the legend here. So they're tracking, again, bridges, signs, signals, signal cameras, streets, poles, water resources, pavement markings, culverts, guardrails, and their building facilities. If we go in on this map, or perhaps there's a specific asset we want to search for based on its ID number, staff can actually pull up that particular asset right away using the search tool. Let's go in here on the map. Let's click on this particular sign to get some information about it. So we can see that it's a changeable message sign. So one of those big blinking signs where you can control the message remotely. And we can see the types of information that they've been tracking up to this point. So now these are fairly new applications for their staff. So they will be completing more of this information as they move forward. Now we were talking a little bit about adding those map notes. So if I notice that, hey, it shows a street light out here, or maybe the information about it is incorrect, as a general office member, I could maybe put in here that, the information about this particular asset is incorrect. So I'm going to say, what type of asset is it? It's a street light. What's the issue? It's incorrect information. How severe is this issue? We can say, it's a low priority, and then provide my notes. So this is simply communicating to those who are responsible for editing the data that there's something that they might have to edit in the data. So that's an example of how you can use this viewer application. Let's take a look at one of the editors. And I'm going to be going through here a little more briskly here. Then when it comes to managing the data, giving the right users access to a map that lets them actually edit those assets, and the correct users the ability to manage those map notes. I'm actually going to jump into the map notes manager here. because what we'll be able to see is as I zoom in, I'm refreshing my map as that's happening. You can see that my little number is not updating, but you can see this map node that that we had just created is showing up on my map here. So let's click on that map node to see what let's see what my former self, the previous self of me, had to say about this particular area. What their map node says. It says it's incorrect information. Maybe it's in the wrong location, or again, maybe the attributes are incorrect. Well, this is simply telling me that there's a task to be done. As a data editor, what I could do is I can go back to my enterprise site and go in and actually edit the data. I do already have that one pulled up. Let's go in here. We can simply use another configuration of one of these ArcGIS Online web applications to edit the data as well, using some lightweight web GIS tools. Oh, that is loading. Here we go. So, and like many of the web editors are working, you have the ability to click on a feature, change its location, change its attribute information. We could also use this editor to do some lightweight data capture. So if you want to put things like your street pavement markings on here, maybe you want to turn on your imagery and put the street stripes on there, or maybe you want to document your guardrails. You can use this this web tool to do so. If you're a more advanced GIS user, you can pull these data layers into ArcGIS Pro and take advantage of a more robust suite of tools to actually do your data management, or if data is in another system, you could load that data in. We'll go back to this page here really quick. And then I wanted to take a quick look at their asset data dashboard. So this dashboard is something that's being used by the supervisors and executives to understand at a very high level what type of assets do they have. In a way, it's like their report card. You can see that the county is responsible for over 400 bridges. Right now, they got 3 signs in the system. How many miles of pavement striping? So, and as they continue to edit this data, they're documenting their assets. This dashboard is going to be updating dynamically. And then they can even go in here and actually get detailed information about their assets. You can see this is pretty easy used application up to this point, but you get the ability to take this GIS data and create other apps out of them. So long as the data exists in your GIS system, whether it be ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, you can use that data in any one of these ArcGIS applications, whether it's for Enterprise or ArcGIS Online, and then actually start to create your own. So for the sake of time, I was going to take a little bit of time to talk about land records, but the important thing to take away from that is essentially that for all of the efforts that organizations are going through to maintain their parcels, to create their cadastral mapping, to create things like their geopolitical boundaries and things like that, and hook that information into those tax systems. We talk about those applications in sessions about equitable property value, the tax parcel viewers, and things like that. Think of this data as very similar to some of that data in that we have various ways to maintain and manage that data, and then we can begin consuming all of that in our various applications. So if we're using these asset data management maps and applications, if you want to include information from your tax parcels or your parcel management efforts, you can simply include that information onto your applications and then build in some of the various functionality that you might be able to take advantage of by having multiple layers on one of your web mapping applications. But yeah, so for the sake of time, we are over. I believe I'm giving it back over to Matt, correct? Are you ready, Matt? It's all yours.
All right. One of the questions I get a fair amount is, why should I choose an Esri partner, or how should I choose an Esri partner? So one of the things I like to talk about with partners, especially service partners like ProWest, partners are highly focused on delivering solutions, solutions that are really prepared around your needs. The mission of a partner and the mission of Esri and why we want to develop a large partner network is to have folks that are focused and aligned around what you need as existing customers, and then what the industry and what Esri best practices are. So what ProWest and other partners can do is focus on moving you forward to kind of be successful in that long term, because they're aligned with best practices and the Esri long-term vision. So they focus on your needs to meet that current objective. So if you have a specific project, and then support you to make sure that you're getting that foundation built to enable long-term success into the future of your GIS. So at Esri, we have several different partner designations that help partners certify their capabilities. So something to something to be on the lookout for is everyone on this call. We're parts of state or local government, so we have a specialty that signifies that that a partner is up to speed on all the state and local government solutions, the state and local government offerings, and that somebody like ProWest, who Jen, I can't remember the exact number, but last time we were on a call together, you told me, and I think you're averaging a little over 2 local government Esri enterprise-based deployments a week. That's impossible to beat. I mean, that is experience with the platform and working with local governments that no one can beat there.
I
So
think, Matt, we have run across every possible scenario under the sun by now. Yes.
I think so too, and I have proud to have been there with you for some of those. But yeah, and also release ready. So make sure that the partner you choose is up to speed on the most recent capabilities and offerings. And if you have questions about partners, please reach out to myself or your account team so that we can provide you with additional information on the Esri website about where to get in touch with different partners. Following the webinar, you guys will all receive a survey. Please remember to take the survey. Would be on the lookout for that. We really appreciate it. As well as you also have access to a recording of the webinar. Please share it out with everyone, colleagues, friends, whoever else was not able to attend today. We do really appreciate all you guys taking the time to be here, and thank you for bearing with us as we go over as well. Again, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here today, and look forward to seeing and hearing from all of you again soon.